Tippy time, my damies, Topcat here and welcome back to the channel. Soloing dungeons is one of the truest tests of your skill as a player in Destiny, but it can get quite frustrating as sometimes you can get killed in the stupidest of ways. This harpy boss here insta-killed me by glitching through the catwalk and up my rectum. But sometimes under pressure you can just do dumb. Or despite being able to master the elements of the universe, you never learnt to swim at your local YMCA. Despite these setbacks, it is currently the best time to try and solo the 8 dungeons Destiny has to offer, as we currently have one of the strongest artifacts we've ever had, and it's about to go. In some dungeons like the Warlord's Ruin, we are able to be 35% stronger. We do additional damage to Taken and Scorn, crazy solar eclair with a mad radiant uptime, weaken, and bonus free damage with solar operative. So I made this build here to go back and run through all 8 of our dungeons. The main goal of this build is a constant buff chain and stealth chain to achieve the mechanics set out for us. And it all begins with the Assassin's Cowl. Its perk is Vanishing Execution. Our powered melee final blows grant us invisibility and restore a portion of our health and shields. It's a good chunk too, and it will allow your recovery to kick in as we've got 8 seconds of invisibility. But if we get off a finisher or kill larger targets with a powered melee, our invisibility is doubled to 16 seconds, and the health returned is doubled. This makes all the mechanics we need to achieve a lot easier. Capping plates in Warlords, grabbing those staves in Duality, banking in Ghosts, it's all made as easy as an ugly. Our Solar Hunter was an easy choice as Knife Trick is a consistently strong melee, killing all red bars and even some orange bars with one Knife Trick. And this melee scorches, which adds even further damage and builds ignitions. We're using the knock and down aspect. This will loop us back our knives whilst we have Radiant. Now our current artifact feeds us Radiant very easily, but we want our build to carry that load outside of that to future-proof it. Emperor Torches, our melees make us Radiant. With Emperor Solace, this will extend that Radiant bonus to 15 seconds. That's enough time to win this fight and then go find another. With Emperor of Imperium, our solar weapon or ability final blows will extend that timer. On every dungeon run here, I ran a solar primary. Dealer's choice, but if it can scorch in some capacity, you'll be better for it. But with an endless loop of knives, it's incredibly easy to loop. And these knives really did help inspire, as those Munter supplicants would incinerate, so no explosions. Imperium is also going to loop our restoration, so I use the healing grenade. This offers us a small cure and that restoration times 1. I'll often use this prior to the actual air clear to loop it into my gunplay from the start. Gambler's Dodge gives us another knife charge when dodging next to foes. This is great when we need to double shiv that fat boy. On Your Mark gets its maximum 3 stacks from dodging, giving us better weapon handling and reloads. More importantly though, 3 fragment slots. Ember of Searing, when defeating scorched targets, we create ourselves fire sprites. These have a 10-second cooldown, as each fire sprite gives us 1/3 of our grenade charge. I run 100 discipline, so this is 45 seconds, so each sprite is going to knock off 15 seconds. And Mercy will give us restoration for 4 seconds on those sprite pickups. So we pick up a sprite, you get a knife or a weapon kill, and we've got an endless and easy way to chain loop our Radiant and Restoration. Knock 'em Down will also increase our supers, and is buffed even further when Radiant. Almost every boss across the dungeon playlist just love to eat that blade barrage. It's a simple no fuss super, it's got quick cooldown, so in activities like Warlord's Ruin, facing that ogre, if we use it on the first plate, we can often have another ready for the 4th plate. Against that meatball, you can have a super each platform. I also like to use it mid-fight sometimes as a bit of a movement tool. I'll flick some knives, radiant for 15 seconds, 10 seconds bait and switch rotation, dodge for more knives, radiant, super, more bait and switch, and they're dead. There are however 2 bosses where I use the Goldie. This dumb harpy here only allows for precision damage, and we got that final boss in Ghost of the Deep. When running solo, no div, rockets and gels often just fly straight through that haggy dress. Headshots are your best shots. Ammo. You'll need a heavy ammo finder mod on your helmet. Some bosses are going to be fine with what you get from that rally flag, as they've got as little as 1.8 million on their health bar. But dungeon after dungeon, the health bars do increase, often going up over 14 million in damage. So you're going to need to pick up some purple bricks up off the floor. You're going to want a siphon mod on your helmet to create orbs of power. They are a very important factor when it comes to increasing our damage output. I'm running a solo one of course, as this is my primary weapon of choice. Additionally, I'm running heavy-handed to create orbs from my powered melee kills. This now though has a 10-second cooldown on it though. Focusing strike reduces class ability cooldown when we damage with our melees, and impact induction reduces our grenade cooldown when we're using our melees. I'm generally not running loaders as my heavies have near endless mags and reserves. That said, there were a few encounters like the Knight in the Pit or the Ogre in Grasp that did require it. Sometimes you'll only be like half a second away from that one phase, and boy does it hurt knowing that you have to set up a whole other damage rotation just to do 5k's worth of damage. In those 2 instances, I just swapped out impact induction for a void loader. Our solo hunter has a river of recup and healing, but damage resist is still important. At all times, I'm running 1 concussive dampener for splash damage, 1 arc, and 1 solar resist. This will work best I found when dancing with those miners. Void damage tends to come from those snipers, for which I can mostly avoid until I take them head on. There was however 2 instances for when I ran double void resist. Firstly that Ogre Blast in Grasp, and the second one was the Meatball in Ruin. He is the absolute worst, and particularly in solo, where he only has 1 target to direct his rage at. We are running 2 surge mods to give us a 17% weapon damage bonus for our heavy weapons for those boss bags. Time dilation increases our armor charge from 10 seconds to 15 seconds per charge, so we can set ourselves up a 45-second window that 17 bonus is active. This is because it's not always possible to place an orb of power where we start our damage cycles. We use that Reaper mod to make us an orb of power after we dodge with 1 weapon kill. This is very handy to keep that armor charge going mid gunfight. I also use the powerful attraction mod on my class item. This collects an orb of power upon activation of my dodge. Paired with the recuperation mod on my legs, this acts a little bit like a worm husk, collecting that orb and healing us. After running these dungeons, you'll find multiple ways to die a stupid death, so it only makes sense to find multiple ways to heal oneself. Now I'd like to talk loadouts. I've tried to keep it as consistent as possible, but there were some outliers and I would love to hear your recommendations down in the comments below also. In Prophecy, Scatter Signal is GOAT with Slice for defense and Controlled Burst for offense. Solar Primaries for Ag Clear and that Edge Transit for the boss bags. The Pit was the same story. In Prophecy however, I use an LMG to drop those hobos that spawn those knights. Duality against the monkey I use the Lament, Mythoclast in the second to clear our shielded friends fast. In the Edge Transit put the Iron Lord's piece on the side in her place. Grasp we went back to 1s. Spire, it's a bit of a head scratcher. I broke my eyes with the LMG, then super and sniped that damn harpy. The Incisor Trace Rifle helped with those button mechanics and debuffs. In Ghost, you'll need the RB to break that kinetic shield fast on both of the bosses, and I loved using the Helio with heal clip and surrounded for some safe but deadly ad clear. The Cataclysmic Linear was my absolute go-to. Linears might not be the most optimal damage these days in a pack, but in that world away from the Wolfpack rounds of the Gjallarhorn, they still perform. In Warlord's first and second bosses, I run my Edge Transit with Envious for 18 grenades in the mag, bait and switch, it's so goated. But against the Meeple I use Explosive Light, as it has a lot shorter damage window to deal with. I've left a dim link in the description down below, or feel free to pause here for my aspects, fragments, mods and armor stats. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. This build is less speed runners and more for those trying to secure the solo. Any Titans and Warlocks got any advice for me? I'm about to run the gauntlet again with both the Warlock and the Titan. Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy tie my damies, what a tie.